and welcome to 15 Days of Festive Fear, day number 1. If you are new around here and you're thinking, what the heck is 15 Days of Festive Fear? This is new. Well, I am at home for the holiday season, and as a result, I will not be making any content because I'm taking a bit of a break. But because I am very keen to keep you company over the holiday season and to keep your holiday season suitably spooky, I'm going to be here every day for 15 days releasing a mini episode. And I have 3 spooky stories for you today, and the last story comes from August the 10th, 2023. And story number 1 comes from Cheryl. My name is Cheryl, and fall 1984 was my freshman year at Peace College in Raleigh, North Carolina. Peace College was established in 1857 by William Peace. He donated the land and the largest monetary amount for the all-women's school building. During the Civil War, it was used as a Confederate hospital. After the Civil War, it was a Freeman's Bureau. In 1872, Peace College went back to being a school for women. Over the years, many buildings were added, such as a library, dorms, gymnasium, classrooms, etc. The main building, built in 1857, housed offices on the first floor and dorm rooms on the second, third and fourth floors. The second, third and fourth floors have large verandas. My room was on the 3rd floor of the main building and my window was on the veranda. From the first night there, I could hear various strange noises. I figured it's very old and all buildings have their odd sounds. Before the first semester was over, something happened that I still cannot explain. My roommate and I had bunk beds. I was on the top bunk. Our beds were up against the window to get the breeze at night. One night I woke from a sound sleep. I was instantly awake and terrified. I heard our doorknob being jiggled as if someone was trying to get in. There was a gap at the bottom of the door and I could see dark shoes. They looked like men's shoes. I was on my side facing the door, my back to the window. The jiggling stopped and the shoes left in the direction of the veranda. I heard each step. I heard the veranda door open and heard heavy footsteps on the floor of the veranda. They stopped outside my window. I was terrified. I could hear the man. I never turned around, but I knew it was a man, breathing. He lit a cigarette and I could smell the smoke. My heart was pounding so hard that I thought he could hear it. I didn't dare turn around. He was right there, just inches away. I was concentrating on my breathing to keep it calm so as not to alert the person that I was awake. I heard the creaking of one of the wooden rocking chairs. Not sure how long, but then the creaking stopped. I heard the footsteps again coming into the building. Saw the shoes stop at my door, the hand jiggled. Then the shoes went into the opposite direction towards the other rooms and the emergency exit. I heard the emergency door open and the alarm sounded. I waited for other students to come out and see what the alarm was. But no one did. I got up and listened at the door. No one moved. I sat at my desk until daylight. Then I went out to look at the emergency door. It was closed and locked. I asked all the girls on that floor, but no one heard anything. One girl said she pulled an all-nighter studying and heard nothing. I went to the guard station to ask about the emergency door on my floor. It had electronic sensors and it did not show any opening the night before, even though I heard the alarm for what seemed like an hour. I went back to my room and decided to go out on the veranda to think about what happened. I found a rocking chair, turned towards and moved right up to my window. Sitting on the arm of the chair was the remains of a cigarette, a hand-rolled one that didn't have a filter. My blood ran cold and I moved out within the week. I never told my roommate why. I figured that she would think that I was crazy. Just to make sure, I asked every smoker on our floor if they hand-rolled and no one did. I was there for 2 years and had many more strange experiences. Peace College is now called William Peace University and now has both male and female students. Cheryl, that story has terrified me. We are off to a good start for 15 days of festive fear this year. I feel like this is one of those stories where I'm listening and I'm going, please be paranormal. Please be paranormal. Please be paranormal. Please don't be a real man. Because the thought of a man sitting, smoking, being so close to you, and you somehow instinctively know that it's a man, you hear them breathing, you smell the smoke, and you know that they're right there inches away from you, and you're trying to control your breathing so that it sounds like you're asleep. Honestly, that was terrifying to read. And I just can't quite get my head around it because we have very physical evidence. So you see the boots at the underneath the door. You hear the doorknob being jiggled. You are lying on your side. The chair is moved the next day. The cigarette is there. There is physical evidence that somebody was there smoking a roll up, sitting on the chair on the veranda. God, it actually gives me the heebie-jeebies. And you hear them walking away. You hear the door being jiggled again. The emergency exit, the alarm goes off, etc., etc. Why does nobody else hear the alarm? I could understand nobody else hearing the footsteps. I can understand nobody else hearing the doorknob jiggling. I can understand that. But the bit I don't understand is why nobody else hears the alarm. And I was gonna say, is this residual energy? It was an old Confederate hospital, etc., etc. Is this an injured soldier who is doing the rounds? But from what I know of residual hauntings, they generally don't leave physical evidence. You generally don't end up with a rolled up cigarette and a chair that has been moved to face towards your window. There's a part of me that's leaning towards this being a real man. But then another part of me that's like, how would he have gotten out and nobody having heard the alarm? Stories like this give me the major heebie-jeebies because it's one of the few times where I'm like, dear God, please let this be paranormal. And I think, to be really honest, Cheryl, if I was in your position, I think I would have moved too. Because I would have thought there's a possibility that there is a man that is sitting outside my window, smoking a cigarette, smoking a rollie, for whatever reason, watching, waiting, trying the door handles. I'm gone. I'm out of there. I'm not taking that risk.
Customers are rushing to your store. Do you have a point of sale system you can trust, or is it a real POS? You need Shopify for retail. Shopify POS is your command center for your retail store. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify has everything you need to sell in person. With Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers in-line and online. Shopify helps you to drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. Get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone, transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system, or use Shopify's POS Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. Do retail right with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/real life ghost stories, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/real life ghost stories to take your retail business to the next level today. That's shopify.com/real life ghost stories.
Today's episode is brought to you by Factor. The holiday season can be such a jam-packed, busy time. And you might be thinking, how am I going to fit in nutritious, flavourful meals to fuel me on these crazy busy days? Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. And they can help you to eat well for breakfast, lunch and dinner by offering chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Sometimes when life gets too hectic, meal prepping ends up taking a back seat. But with Factor, you can skip the meal planning, the grocery shopping, the chopping, the prepping, the cleaning up, etc. and get Factor's fresh, never frozen meals delivered to your door. They are literally ready in 2 minutes. So all you have to do is heat it up and enjoy. You can choose from over 35 chef-crafted meals every single week. And these meals can be chosen to meet your specific preferences. So whether you are vegan or veggie or you want extra protein, whatever it is, head to factormeals.com/reallifeghoststories50 and use code reallifeghoststories50 to get 50% off. That's code reallifeghoststories50 at factormeals.com/reallifeghoststories50 to get 50% off. And story number 2 comes from Jackie. For context, I have always had a connection to the spirit world and always tried to keep it away. However, in late 2019, I went to a medium evening against my better judgment, and since then I've had constant communication. My first husband died in 1980. In 2021, I began to have regular happenings in my house. These events were told on the podcast 142 and day 17 of 31 Days of Terror. Now we are at Easter 2021, and I was visiting my eldest daughter, who is the child of my first husband. I spent a week with my daughter's family. My daughter is very closed up to the spirit world. I was going to bed on my last night when I suddenly realised I had had nothing from my late husband that week, which was strange. I thought, as there is no need to speak out loud, if you have been here, but have not been able to show me because of our daughter and children, send me a sign. I went to sleep and I had a flight home the next day from Gatwick. I was in a deep sleep in the early hours when suddenly I was grabbed around my ankle and my leg was pushed up and down with force. I can't describe the panic I felt. It stopped as suddenly as it started, and then I realised it was the sign that I had asked for. My late husband was a joker, and I said, "Okay, I get it. You are pulling my leg." I went straight back to sleep as I knew it was him and had no fear. The next day I had a train to London, and he was with me all the way. It truly is a gift that has completely changed my life. Now we are in August 2021. It was Monday and I was at home and feeling really chilled. I was listening to podcasts on spirituality and the paranormal. On the podcast, the host said, if you want a spirit to answer anything, you just ask, and in some way you will get your answer. So I thought, okay, I'll give this a go. So my question was, when will my ex-husband resume payments to me? He had not paid since the beginning of COVID. I was not at work that week, so I carried on listening to the podcasts and audiobooks while I pottered about at home. On Friday, I was still chilling at home. My youngest daughter was at home and we were chatting. I was sitting on the sofa and she was walking past on her way out. As we were talking, I saw out of the corner of my eye a dice from a game fly through the air. This happened in a fraction of a second. Then the dice was tossed over my daughter's head and fell between her feet on the floor. She just started to say, "What the f..." and then she looked at me and said, "What just happened?" I said, "A dice was thrown over your head." She looked down at it and said, "It says 3. And I thought, that is the answer to my question. I told her about my question to the spirit that I had made on Monday. She said that is the freakiest thing that has ever happened to me, but in a good way. My youngest daughter is connected strongly to spirit too. Earlier that week I had noticed the dice next to the computer in the room upstairs. I ran up to look and it was gone. I was glad she was there to witness it. And the answer was correct, as it was 3 years until my payments resumed from my ex. Since the dice appeared in August 2021, I had kept it on the fireplace and it has been touched by spirit and felt very special to me. I'm now in 2022. I was dusting the fireplace and worked from one end to the other. I stood at one end and I watched as the dice on the other end just rolled onto the floor. This time it was on number 1. So I took this to mean that there was still a year to go. And there was. Jackie, this is such a fascinating story, and I feel like probably a lot of people listening could benefit from that idea of if you ask, you will get your answer. And I think those answers come in such interesting ways, like your husband literally pulling your leg and you going, fuck's sake, can you not? Yes, I know it's you. Thank you. I get it. Thank you. Let me sleep. And I'm really curious to know when you said then that you felt him on the train with you the entire way. And I'm curious to know, like, did you just feel his presence? Did you instinctively know he was there? Or was there something that showed you he was there on the train with you? And I also love how this story shows how when you ask, you might not get your answer in the way that you think you're going to get it. Like asking, when will your ex-husband resume payments to you? And then you get the answer via a dice that is randomly thrown across the room. And I'm so glad that your daughter was there to witness it happening too. I guess this is a sign for anybody listening. Just ask the question to the universe. Ask the question to whatever it is you believe in. See what happens. Be open-minded. And our final question today comes from Nico. Until about age 19, I frequently had interactions with spirits, energies, ghosts, whatever you want to call them. I'm honestly a little disappointed that it stopped. While I was never comfortable with these experiences, they were also just part of my life. I feel a little ashamed that I wasn't braver and explored them more, but it was the unknown, and for most of them I was a child. Not that an adult couldn't be scared by a ghost. My first one happened at around age 11. My parents were divorced, and this took place at a rental my dad lived at with my stepmom and my stepsister. It's now hard to remember which experience happened first. The haunting appeared directed at me, as my family didn't experience things on their own, but did when I was around. Once when I walked inside, the voicemail machine started playing all the voicemails in a speedy succession, no one having touched it. Everyone shrugged it off. Machines can malfunction. But it unnerved me. Things became active in my bedroom. My TV started turning off and on by itself. The remote was in my room, so it's not like my sister could have been playing a prank on me. My family claimed it primarily only happened when I was over. I'm not really sure how I coded this, but I would communicate with it to some extent. I could ask it questions and it would turn off in faster and slower increments. Maybe Morse code, but I don't know that. My family found it weird, but said it could be an electrical issue. This only happened for a few months and then one day it stopped. It would be weird for this to be an electrical issue only in my room, taking place mostly only when I'm there and then randomly stopping without any work done to repair the problem. Whatever was in the house started getting more malevolent towards me. Once I was home alone and I heard the television on downstairs. I didn't remember it being on earlier in the day. As I approached the staircase, I started feeling uneasy. Suddenly I heard this loud giggling of a little girl, as if she was taunting me to come down. The TV was in a room with the door closed, so that sounded muffled. The laughter sounded like it came from another direction in the basement, like there wasn't anything between me and whatever it was. I didn't know a lot about spirits at that time, but I very much knew to avoid a child laughing, as negative spirits often use that to lure people. I decided it wasn't a big deal that the television was left on, and ran to my room. There were 2 pictures on the stairwell of me and my sister. Mine tumbled down the staircase repeatedly, while hers never did. I saw it happen a couple of times. On the week we were moving out, it fell once more and shattered. I was relieved to be out of there. The next stories take place during high school at 2 houses across the street from one another, where I lived with my mom and my sister, at one point moving from one to the other. The first house was a family friend's that we were renting. The experiences started the night of a birthday sleepover. I let my friends sleep on the couches while I slept on the floor, and surprise, surprise, I couldn't sleep. After a bit, I began to feel uneasy, like I was being watched from our open laundry room door that I was sleeping near. Suddenly, I heard, "Hi," in a loud whisper from the laundry room. I quickly got up and checked that all my friends were asleep, in case one of them did it to fuck with me, but they were all passed out. Things picked up fast from there. I constantly felt like I was being watched in my basement. For a while, I would leave my bathroom light on at night. I always have my bedroom door shut when I sleep, but it often felt like someone was just standing outside of it. I had a couple of weird dreams back to back that really freaked me out. The first, I was underneath my patio, covered in snakes. I oddly wasn't that freaked out by the snakes, but I looked down towards my ankle and saw one of the snakes lift its head up, show its fangs, and then bite. I woke up with a throbbing pain where the snake bit me. I never had pain from a dream before, so it really freaked me out. The next night, I had another dream. I don't really recall what it was now. I wasn't even staying at my house that night, but I was attacked in it and woke up in pain where I was hit. I was scared I was starting a Nightmare on Elm Street situation, but luckily I only had 2 like that. From there, my mom began to experience more than I did, which she usually didn't experience paranormal stuff. We assumed this was a ghost cat, as my friend said they had a cat die when they lived there. We did have a couple of cats, but she repeatedly began seeing a tail wandering around the house of a colour that we didn't own. We had a pet door which we had occasionally opened to the outside. We thought we had one sneaking in, but we could never find it, even when she saw it turn towards a hallway with no exit. Once she was preparing to leave for work when she saw one walk through her room into the bathroom shower. She thought it was one of ours, so went to grab it before she left. But when she got to the shower, there was no cat there. One that can easily be explained from just misplacing them, but once she had her keys as she was about to leave, went back inside because she forgot something, and then her keys were missing. She looked for half an hour and then they appeared in a very obvious place that she had looked. Again, that can be explained away, but also could be a ghost messing with us. The most unnerving experience I had there was when I once laid down on my couch after school. I'm not someone who naps, I just wanted to rest my eyes, when I suddenly felt a pressure on the couch near my feet, as if a cat had hopped up and curled up next to me. I assumed it was one of my cats, but then I remembered that there wasn't one down here with me. My basement door was closed to them at the time. I became scared to move, but finally I softly kicked my feet out, as if I needed to be sneaky with a ghost, and the pressure lifted up and there wasn't anything there. We eventually moved across the street. I once again had a bedroom downstairs by myself, my mom and my sister above me. The laundry room had a door that flowed from my bedroom. The laundry room was tense. We had our cat litter box in there and my cat hated being in that room, especially with the door shut. The most unsettling thing was at night. I would hear something pacing up and down the hallway above my bedroom. Once I asked my mom if they were either having a hard time sleeping or heard the pacing too. She brushed it off, saying I was just seeing these things everywhere. I shrugged it off as it wasn't really bothering me that much. Over the summer I went on a trip, and since it was warm, my mom and my sister slept downstairs. When I got back, they told me, "You weren't making it up. We heard it at night as well." The last experience I had was the most terrifying, and for that reason I think that's why it was my last, as I kind of just closed myself off from that point. I was 19, and living in my first apartment in college with a roommate. The apartment was on the older side, but not old by any means, maybe 50 years at most. We were on the top floor of a 3-story complex. At night I felt like I was being watched whenever I went to the kitchen, but it was a pitch black kitchen in the middle of the night. I did shrug that off as nerves, but my roommate and a boyfriend also reported weird things to me. Our apartment was set up front room, Along that wall was my roommate's room, and then on the other side of my roommate's room was mine. My roommate reported hearing knocking along this wall between his room and the front room. I could sense something was up, but I didn't want to worry him. I told him we do live in an apartment, it could be someone below us, and he seemed to accept it. Once my boyfriend was staying the night. When I woke up, he asked if my roommate was an early riser, which he definitely was not. I asked why, and he said he heard muffled talking outside the bedroom early in the morning. Knowing my roommate would not be doing that, I again mentioned possible neighbours being loud. But following that, he preferred we stay at his place over mine. The final scary thing that happened a month or two in. I got back late one night after hanging with friends. Sometime before midnight, my roommate was already asleep. I was still slowly unpacking and had some boxes in my room. I was still energised, so I decided to unpack more. After a box was emptied, I would take it out to the closet in the hallway. After the second or third box, the energy got really negative, like I wasn't welcome. I went back to my room and unpacked another. I took it out. And suddenly I began to hear running water coming from the ceiling of the closet, as if there was a massive leak pouring out onto the carpeted floor. I was so confused. And then I felt this energy from the kitchen. Suddenly something charged down the hall at me. Stomp, 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 sprinting. I immediately dropped the empty box, rolled onto the floor, and then slammed my door shut. It was terrifying. I slept with the lights on that night. The reason why I said I believe I shut off my experiences after that was a few days later when I was home alone. I told it to stop. It was okay to be there, but its behaviour was not acceptable. I quit giving it energy after that. From there, I can't remember any experiences. Since then, I've had no ghost experiences or feelings. I think closing myself off may have changed something. They say as people get older, often they lose this ability, or perhaps I just haven't been anywhere with spirits. I stayed at a notoriously haunted hotel a year ago and felt or saw nothing. I also have some more stories from my early 20s when my grandpa unexpectedly died. I had 4 dreams where we had conversations, talked about him being dead, what the afterlife was like, things to look out for, etc. I had another brief one with my dead grandmother as well. I know they could be chalked up to just being dreams, but I do hold them close to my heart. There is so much to unpack here. First of all, I think visitation dreams are very important. I think, yes, it's easy to say they're just dreams, but if they bring you comfort, they bring you peace, you hold them close to your heart, that's what's important. So going back to the very beginning, you said that you felt a little bit ashamed that you weren't braver and didn't explore them more. But you're young, it's unknown. And for most of it, you were a child. And I just don't think that you should feel any shame for instinctively trying to protect yourself. Because that's what it is. Not exploring it is trying to protect yourself and trying to ignore it and make sure that you're okay mentally and physically. And you know what? That's far more important in any given period of time than anything else. So it's funny when you say about, that you seem to have been the one when you were 11 that was haunted, like things happened around you. And I honestly, the more I do this podcast, the more I think that things like poltergeist activity, etc., is caused by the energy of people rather than it being an entity. So I do wonder if it's whatever it was about you as a burgeoning teenager, and less about a separate entity. Although in saying that, the child laughing in the basement, yeah, that if that's a separate entity, then get fucked. Okay. Go and laugh elsewhere, please and thank you. I am, however, admittedly quite a big fan of little cat ghosts. If they're knocking around with their little tails in the air, not doing anybody any harm, jumping on the sofa while you're sleeping, etc., then why not? And I fully do not blame you for shutting yourself off from things otherworldly and paranormal after the last part of your story. Hearing something charging down the hallway at you, sprinting, I would be petrified, and I can completely understand why you'd go, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to hear this anymore. I don't want to be privy to this anymore, and there is absolutely no shame in that. Thank you so much to Cheryl, Jackie and Nico for sending in your stories, and thank you for listening. Remember, if you would like to send in your story, you can do so by emailing it to reallifeghoststoriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out the website reallifeghoststoriespodcast.com, and if you are desperate for some extra content, you can subscribe to the Patreon. That is patreon.com/reallifeghoststories, where for $5 a month or $2 a month you get access to heaps of extra content, as well as every single main and mini episode completely ad-free. And on that note, I shall see you tomorrow.